presence is not just executive presence, but it's about both how and where we are seen. We have video presence, we have a LinkedIn presence, we have presence even in chat channels, on email, so many different touch points now in the way that we work. And I really believe that presence is the way that we collaborate better, learn how to advocate for ourselves better, and ultimately impact the company's bottom line.
Welcome to Engage Presents. I'm Engage co-founder and president Jake Olson. In this interview series, I ask Engage talent the most common questions we hear from event planners to help you get to know them and their stories in 15 minutes or less. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another episode of Engage Presents. I'm Engage President Jake Olson. Alongside me today, a very special guest, Lorraine K. Lee. She is a best-selling author, a LinkedIn top voice, where she also was a former founding editor. Lorraine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Lorraine, so you kind of specialize in something called supercharging presence. Kind of explain what that is, and then how you saw the value in kind of making that something you do on a daily basis in your job.
Presence is really my passion, and it stemmed from my experience at LinkedIn. As you mentioned, I was a founding editor there. And as hard as I tried and as hard as I worked, and I was well liked by my peers, I worked on high priority projects. I could not figure out how to get promoted and move from that mid-career level to be really seen as a leader, which is what I wanted. And so that really stemmed a lot of, or created a lot of self-reflection, talking to peers, mentors, like what could I have done differently? And presence was the answer. And so that's why I'm so passionate talking about this subject. Presence is not just executive presence, but it's about both how and where we are seen. We have video presence, we have a LinkedIn presence, we have presence even in chat channels, on email, so many different touch points now in the way that we work. And I really believe that presence is the way that we collaborate better, learn how to advocate for ourselves better, and ultimately impact the company's bottom line.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you kind of mentioned how, executive presence and how you wanted to be a leader. So for any leaders kind of listening to this right now, what's one way that they can boost their executive presence?
The easiest way right now is to eliminate minimizing language. And when I speak to teams about minimizing language, I get so many, oh, I just said that earlier today, or like plus ones. And basically, what minimizing language is when you use statements or phrases that weaken your message. And then when you weaken your message, you're weakening how you come across and your confidence. And so examples of that might be, oh, does that make sense? How you would change that and make that a more powerful statement would be, let me know if you have any questions. Or, oh, I just wanted to add my 2 cents really quickly. We shouldn't be using the word just at all, right? That's an unnecessary qualifier. So there's a lot of phrases like that that really sneak in throughout a day that we don't even realize that we're doing, but are really impacting how we come across our presence, our authority. And so that's a very quick way to come across more confident, to seem more senior and more executive.
I love that. Okay, so I'm sure over the last couple years here, what you're talking about has changed a lot with AI becoming a thing. So, how can we kind of ensure that our human presence stands out in this age of AI?
I think that's why presence is so amazing, is that it really does focus on that human-centered side, the people skills, because AI is going to replace some of those more rote tasks, but presence is really how do I collaborate cross-functionally? Again, how am I advocating for myself? How am I making people feel when I talk to them? And so presence, I think, is going to be one of those really big differentiators, and presence is something that should and can be worked on through all points of your career. Again, it's not just the executive at a certain level in the boardroom, but it's how can I address and strengthen all these important touch points that I have in a given day throughout my career.
And the same thing, kind of in this day and age where we're in this, hybrid or remote workplaces. A lot of that happened obviously through COVID. Kind of how can we work on having, an authentic presence in with those relationships, our work relationships in those settings?
Relationships are so, so important in any workplace, very foundational. The quickest way I would say to start building relationships, or the fastest thing that you can start changing today, is by turning off autopilot small talk. And what autopilot small talk is when we have a conversation and you ask me something, I don't even have to think about the response, and vice versa. So most commonly that shows up as, "Oh, Jake, great to see you. How are you today?" "Oh, I'm good. How are you, Lorraine?" "Oh, good, thanks." And that's the end of the conversation. But when we turn off autopilot, and again, presence is making these small tweaks to up level what we're already doing, it becomes much easier for us to build rapport and to get to know each other. So instead of, oh, how was your weekend? Right? Then you're going to say, oh, it's good. How was yours? I might ask, oh, Jake, what was the highlight of your weekend? Like, what was really fun? Something that you did. And now you have to pause for a second. You have to think. And then now you share a little bit more with me and I get to know you a little bit better.
Really awesome. So that kind of brings me to my next, question here. And that might be a way to do it, but is there other ways that you can kind of build that trust or collaboration amongst teams? And I know kind of what you just said is a way to do that, but piggyback off that.
There are many ways. One of the, I would say, most underrated ways to build trust is, and it sounds so obvious, but following through on deadlines and doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it by. Again, sounds so obvious, but so many people don't do this at work. And so, again, I talk about this in my talks, but saying and being so explicit and clear, again, this boils on the communication. Oh, Jake, can you get me that deliverable this week? And you say, sure. Okay, well, what is this week? To you, maybe that means Friday. To me, it means Wednesday. Now, let's say you asked me for something by Wednesday. Still, okay, well, what is Wednesday? How specific? You might think it's middle of the day. I might think it's end of day. And so all these this is creating like a lot of friction, right? When we're not explicit with our deadline. So to say, oh, Jake, I would like this deliverable by Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, and then you follow through and you deliver that thing. Or if you can't, telling me with as much advance notice as possible, I need to change this for X and Y reason, but here are my backup plans and here's how I'm going to make sure it's still a great deliverable. That is such an amazing, powerful way to build trust.
And I think that goes along just from a personal standpoint too with yourself. I know so many people, hey, I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, go to the gym, or hey, I'm going to call this person by the end of the day. And they don't do that. And they don't realize kind of the relationship they have with themselves and how that impacts that when they tell them something and then don't follow through.
Yeah, that's a great comparison.
Awesome. So, all right, Lorraine, you as a speaker, kind of walk us through what it's like to work with you. How does your presentation go? Are you using slides up there? Just in this brief conversation, I can tell, you have a lot of concrete evidence and concrete examples. So kind of walk us through what a presentation looks like.
There are a few words that continue to pop up. I have over 200 testimonials on my LinkedIn page for anyone who's wanting to learn what it's like to work with me and to also hear from audience members as well. Engaging, practical, and personable. And so I'm really proud of these three words, as you mentioned, Jake. Like I want to make sure that people are engaged, especially in a virtual format. I actually started off speaking in a virtual setting versus in person. So I really perfected that. So perfect for corporations, right, that have distributed teams that are trying to reach everyone. You will watch some videos on my Engage page. You will see it's very different than probably what you're used to. Tactical, practical. I want people to have takeaways that they can make during the session, right after. To me, if you're watching someone and spending that time, I don't want you to not change and not do anything afterwards. So I always send feedback surveys afterwards. 100% of attendees learn something new. 98% find the session valuable. 98% will take an action or make a change afterwards, which I think are amazing stats if I say so myself.
Yes.
And then yeah, and then being personable. Like I'm on my LinkedIn, so after the session, people will send me messages and I will respond back. And I want to make sure that I'm making things as approachable as possible and not make it feel like it's an intimidating thing to get better at executive presence or to build your brand at work. So those are the three traits that people use to describe me. And then I also do fireside chats, and I think that gives the opportunity for a more bespoke experience. I talk about a lot of different topics in my book, meetings, public speaking and presenting, general communication, LinkedIn presence, video presence, etc. And so to be able to really target what is most important for that audience, I think is has been really fun. Again, with my book, Unforgettable Presence.
Awesome. Well, Lorraine, thank you for sharing that today. If you want to learn more about Lorraine, as she mentioned, you can go to letsengage.com, check out her profile there, check out all that she has to offer, or her LinkedIn, again, where she's got more than probably what you'd ever want to know. So, Lorraine, we again thank you for sharing with us and having your presence here with us today.
Thanks, Jake.
Stay tuned for more Engage Presents.